Hello, lovely people. I'm Sinead, and welcome. I thought today we'd read some more. I've been getting feedback that at least a couple of you are enjoying it, and that's really all that matters, is that somebody out there is enjoying story time, and because I enjoy sharing the stories. And if you're enjoying it and you haven't commented, please do. That way I know you're out there and there are more of you. And I always like knowing there are more of you. So we're going to begin with rice pudding. What is the matter with Mary Jane? She's crying with all her might and main. And she won't eat her dinner, rice pudding again. What is the matter with Mary Jane? What is the matter with Mary Jane? I've promised her dolls and a daisy chain and a book about animals, all in vain. What is the matter with Mary Jane? What is the matter with Mary Jane? She's perfectly well and she hasn't a pain. But look at her, now she's beginning again. What is the matter with Mary Jane? What is the matter with Mary Jane? I've promised her sweets and a ride on the train, and I've begged her to stop for a bit and explain. What is the matter with Mary Jane? What is the matter with Mary Jane? She's perfectly well and she hasn't a pain, and it's lovely rice pudding for dinner again. What is the matter with Mary Jane? I have to share the picture of the child. They're flicking off their shoe. And how... Yes, we've all felt like that. Rice pudding again. The King's Breakfast. The King asked the Queen, and the Queen asked the dairymaid, could we have some butter for the royal slice of bread? The Queen asked the dairymaid said, certainly, I'll go and tell the cow, and now before she goes to bed. The dairymaid, she curtsied, and went and told the Alderney, don't forget the butter for the royal slice of bread. The Alderney said sleepily, you'd better tell his majesty that many people nowadays like marmalade instead. The dairymaid said fancy, and went to her majesty. She curtsied to the Queen, and she turned a little red. Excuse me, your majesty, for taking of the liberty, but marmalade is tasty if it's very thickly spread. The Queen said, oh, and went to her majesty. Talking of the butter for the royal slice of bread, many people think that marmalade is nicer. Would you like to try a little marmalade instead? The King said, bother, and then he said, oh, dearie me. The King sobbed, oh, dearie me, and went back to bed. Nobody, he whimpered, could call me a fussy man. I only want a little bit of butter for my bread. The Queen said, there, and went to the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, there, and went to the shed. The cow said, there, I didn't really mean it. Here's milk for his porringer and butter for his bread. The Queen took the butter and brought it to his majesty. The King said, butter, eh? And bounced out of bed. Nobody, he said, as he kissed her tenderly. Nobody, he said, as he slid down the banisters. Nobody, my darling, could call me a fussy man, but I do like a little bit of butter to my bread. Hoppity. Christopher Robin goes hoppity, 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 hop, whenever I tell him politely to stop. He says he can't possibly stop. If he stopped hopping, he couldn't go anywhere. Poor little Christopher couldn't go anywhere. That's why he always goes hoppity, 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 hop. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. Radar just crawled into my lap. He wants to be pet. He says springtime is horrible and he's shedding like crazy and he just wants a little bit of scritching. At home. I want a soldier in a busby. I want a soldier to come and play with me. I'd give him cream cakes, big sugar ones. I'd give him cream cakes and cream for his tea. I want a soldier, a tall one, a red one. I want a soldier who plays on the drum. Daddy's going to get one. He's written to the shopman. Daddy's going to get one as soon as he can come. The wrong house. I went into a house, and it wasn't a house. It has big steps and a great big hall, but it hasn't got a garden, a garden, a garden. And it isn't like a house at all. I went into a house, and it wasn't a house. It has a big garden and a great high wall, but it hasn't got a may tree, a may tree, a may tree, and it isn't like a house at all. I went into a house, and it wasn't a house. Slow white petals from the may tree fall, but it hasn't got a blackbird, a blackbird, a blackbird. It isn't like a house at all. I went into a house, and I thought it was a house. I could hear from the may tree the blackbird call, but nobody listened to it, nobody liked it, nobody wanted it at all. Summer afternoon. 6 brown cows walked down to drink. All the little fishes blew bubbles at the mayfly. Splash goes the first as he comes to the brink. Swish goes the tails of the 5 who follow. 12 brown cows been drinking there. All the little fishes went waggle tail. 6 from the water and 6 from the air. Up and down the river darts a blue-black swallow. Excuse me. I thought you might like to see the little radar hiding on my lap. Well, his nose is hidden. It's very tucked. Just a little intermission. The Dormouse and the Doctor. There once was a dormouse who lived in a bed of delphiniums blue and geraniums red, and all the day long he'd a wonderful view of geraniums red and delphiniums blue. A doctor came hurrying round, and he said, "Tut, tut, I am sorry to find you in bed. Just say 99 while I look at your chest. Don't you find that chrysanthemums answer the best?" The Dormouse looked round at the view and replied, when he'd said 99, that he'd tried and he'd tried, and much the most answering things that he knew were geraniums red and delphiniums blue. The doctor stood frowning and shaking his head, and he took up his shiny silk hat as he said, "What the patient requires is a change," and he went to see some chrysanthemum people in Kent. The Dormouse lay there, and he gazed at the view of geraniums red and delphiniums blue, and he knew there was nothing he wanted instead of delphiniums blue and geraniums red. The doctor came back, and to show what he meant, he had brought some chrysanthemum cuttings from Kent. Now these, he remarked, give a much better view than geraniums red and delphiniums blue. They took out their spades, and they dug up the bed of delphiniums blue and geraniums red, and they planted chrysanthemums yellow and white. And now, said the doctor, we'll soon have you right. The Dormouse looked out, and he said with a sigh, "I suppose all these people know better than I. It was silly, perhaps, but I did like the view of geraniums red and delphiniums blue." The doctor came round and examined his chest, and ordered him nourishment, tonics, and rest. "How very effective," he said as he shook the thermometer, "all these chrysanthemums look." The Dormouse turned over to shut out the sight of the endless chrysanthemums, yellow and white. How lovely, he thought, to be back in a bed of delphiniums blue and geraniums red. The doctor said, "Tut, it's another attack," and ordered him milk and a massage of the back, and freedom from worry and drives in a car, and murmured, "How sweet your chrysanthemums are." The Dormouse lay there with his paws to his eyes, and imagined himself such a pleasant surprise. I'll pretend the chrysanthemums turned to a bed of delphiniums blue and geraniums red. The doctor next morning was rubbing his hands and saying, "There's nobody quite understands these cases as I do. The cure has begun. How fresh the chrysanthemums look in the sun." The Dormouse lay happy. His eyes were so tight he could see no chrysanthemums yellow or white, and all that he felt at the back of his head were delphiniums blue and geraniums red. And that is the reason, Aunt Emily said, if a Dormouse gets in a chrysanthemum bed, you will find, so Aunt Emily says, that he lies fast asleep on his front with his paws to his eyes. Shoes and stockings. There's a caravan in the mountain where the old men meet. Hammer, 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 hammer. They make gold slippers for my lady's feet. Hammer, 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 hammer. My lady is marrying her own true knight. White her gown and her veil is white, but she must have slippers on her dainty feet. Hammer, 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 hammer. There's a cottage by the river where the old wives meet. Chatter, 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 chatter. They weave gold stockings for my lady's feet. Chatter, 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 chatter. My lady is going to her own true man, youth to youth, since the world began. But she must have stockings on her dainty feet. Chatter, 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 chatter. The mirror. Between the woods the afternoon is fallen in a golden swoon. The sun looks down from quiet skies to where a quiet water lies, and silent trees stoop down to trees, and there I saw a white swan make another white swan in the lake, and breast to breast, both motionless, they waited for the wind's caress, and all the water was at ease. We have a great color from each Shepard color picture here. And I believe it goes with the next knights and ladies. There is, in my old picture book, a page at which I like to look, where knights and squires come riding down the cobbles of some steep old town, and ladies from beneath the eaves flutter their bravest handkerchiefs, or smiling proudly toss down gages, but that was in the Middle Ages. It wouldn't happen now, but still, whenever I look up the hill, where dark against the green and blue, the firs come marching two by two, I wonder if perhaps I might see suddenly a shining knight, winding his way from blue to green, exactly as it would have been those many, many years ago. Perhaps I might. You never know. Sand between the toes. I went down to the shouting sea, taking Christopher down with me, for nurse had given us 6 pence each, and down we went to the beach. We had sand in the eyes and ears and the nose, and sand in the hair and sand between the toes. Wherever a good nor'wester blows, Christopher is certain of sand between the toes. The sea was galloping gray and white. Christopher clutched his 6 pence tight. We clambered over the humping sand, and Christopher held my hand. We had sand in the eyes and ears and the nose, and sand in the hair and sand between the toes. Whenever a good nor'wester blows, Christopher's certain of sand between the toes. There was a roaring in the sky, the seagulls cried as they blew by. We tried to talk, but had to shout, nobody else was out. When we got home, we had sand in the hair, in the eyes, and in the ears, and everywhere. Wherever a good nor'wester blows, Christopher is found with sand between the toes. Little Bo Peep and Little Boy Blue. What have you done with your sheep, Little Bo Peep? What have you done with your sheep, Bo Peep? Little Boy Blue, what fun! I've lost them, every one. Oh, what a thing to have done, Little Bo Peep. What have you done with your sheep, Little Boy Blue? What have you done with your sheep, Boy Blue? Little Bo Peep, my sheep, went off when I was asleep. I'm sorry about your sheep, Little Boy Blue. What are you going to do, Little Bo Peep? What are you going to do, Bo Peep? Little Boy Blue, you'll see. They'll all come home to tea. They wouldn't do that for me, Little Bo Peep. What are you going to do, Little Boy Blue? What are you going to do, Boy Blue? Little Bo Peep, I'll blow my horn for an hour or so. Isn't that rather slow, Little Boy Blue? Whom are you going to marry, Little Bo Peep? Whom are you going to marry, Bo Peep? Little Boy Blue, I'd like to marry you. I think I should like it too, Little Bo Peep. Where are you going to live, Little Boy Blue? Where are you going to live, Boy Blue? Little Bo Peep, up in the hills with the sheep, and you'll love your Little Bo Peep, Little Boy Blue. I'll love you forever and ever, Little Bo Peep. I'll love you forever and ever, Bo Peep. Little Boy Blue, my dear, little... Keep near, keep very near. I shall be always here, little Bo Peep. Who knew? Halfway down. Halfway down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. I'm not at the bottom, I'm not at the top, so this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up and isn't down. It isn't in the nursery and it isn't in the town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run round my head. It isn't really anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. The invaders. In careless patches through the wood, the clumps of yellow primrose stood. The sheets of white anemones, like driven snow against the trees, had covered up the violet, but left the bluebell bluer yet. Along the narrow carpet ride, with primroses on either side, between their shadows and the sun, the cows came slowly one by one, breathing the early morning air and leaving it still sweeter there, and one by one, intent upon their purposes, they followed on in ordered silence and were gone. But all the little wood was still, as if it waited so, until some blackbird on an outpost yew, watching the slow procession through, lifted his yellow beak at last to whistle that the line had passed. Then all the wood began to sing its morning anthem to the spring. I believe, nope, I'm going to do, okay. Wow, that's a long one. This is the last then. Before tea. Emmeline has not been seen for more than a week. She slipped between the two tall trees at the end of the green, and all went after her. Emmeline! Emmeline! I didn't mean. I only said that your hands weren't clean. We went to the trees at the end of the green, but Emmeline was not to be seen. Emmeline came slipping between the two tall trees at the end of the green. We all ran up to her. Emmeline, where have you been? Where have you been? Why, it's more than a week. And Emmeline said, Sillies, I went and saw the queen. She says my hands are perfectly clean. No. Now for our last reading, we're going to read Teddy Bear, which is a basically about Winnie the Pooh, but he's not called Winnie the Pooh through this, but you can tell from the illustrations here, it's the same bear. Teddy Bear. A bear, however hard he tries, grows tubby without exercise. Our teddy bear is short and fat, which is not to be wondered at, as he gets what exercise he can by falling off the ottoman, but generally seems to lack the energy to clamber back. Now tubbiness is just the thing which gets a fellow wondering, and Teddy worried lots about the fact that he was rather stout. He thought, if only I were thin, but how does anyone begin? He thought it really isn't fair to grudge me exercise and air. For many weeks he pressed in vain his nose against the window pane, and envied those who walked about, reducing their unwanted stout. None of the people he could see is quite, he said, as fat as me. Then with a still more moving sigh, I mean, he said, as fat as I. Now Teddy, as was only right, slept in the ottoman at night, and with him crowded in as well more animals than I can tell. Not only these, but books and things, such as a kind of relation brings, old tales of once upon a time, and history retold in rhyme. One night it happened that he took a peep at an old picture book, wherein he came across, by chance, the picture of a king of France. A stoutish man, and down below these words, King Louis so-and-so, nicknamed the Handsome. There he sat, and think of it, the man was fat. Our bear rejoiced like anything to read about this famous king, nicknamed the Handsome. There he sat, and certainly the man was fat. Nicknamed the Handsome, not a doubt. The man was definitely stout. Why then, a bear, for all his tub, might yet be named the handsome cub? Might yet be named, or did he mean that years ago he might have been? For now he felt a slight misgiving. Is Louis so-and-so still living? Fashions and beauty have a way of altering from day to day. Is handsome Louis with us yet? Unfortunately, I forget. Next morning, nose to window pane, the doubt occurred to him again. One question hammered in his head, is he alive or is he dead? Thus nose to pane he pondered, but the lattice window, loosely shut, swung open. With one startled, "Oh!" our Teddy disappeared below. There happened to be passing by a plump man with a twinkling eye, who, seeing Teddy in the street, raised him politely to his feet, and murmured kindly in his ear soft words of comfort and of cheer. "Well, well, allow me. Not at all. Tut, tut, a very nasty fall." Our Teddy answered not a word. It's doubtful if he even heard. Our bear could only look and look, the stout man in the picture book. That handsome king, could this be he? This man of adiposity? Impossible, he thought, but still, no harm in asking. "Yes, I will." "Are you," he said, "by any chance, His Majesty the King of France?" The other answered, "I am that," bowed stiffly and removed his hat, then said, "Excuse me," with an air, "but is it Mr. Edward Bear?" And Teddy, bending low, replied politely, "Even so." They stood beneath the window there, the king and Mr. Edward Bear, and handsome, if a trifle fat, talked carelessly of this and that. Then said his Majesty, "Well, well, I must get on," and rang the bell. "Your bear, I think," he smiled. "Good day," and turned and went upon his way. A bear, however hard he tries, grows tubby without exercise. Our teddy bear is short and fat, which is not to be wondered at. But do you think it worries him to know that he is far from slim? No, just the other way about. He's proud of being short and stout. I hope you have enjoyed this week's short stories from A.A. Milne and E.H. Shepard. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.